My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Rimby, host of the Ivory Tower Boiler Room Arts and Culture podcast. If you haven't, please take a second to rate us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Please make sure you're following us on Spotify or Apple. And did you know we have a YouTube channel? Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It really means a lot. You can actually see a lot of our video episodes on YouTube. And if you don't want to listen to any ads that are going to happen throughout the episode, even though I love all of our sponsors, of course, you can listen to our ad-free episodes on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And right now, you can get 1 week for free to see all of the ad-free episodes. And all of those episodes are also video episodes. So you can get to watch me, the guest, and you can also listen to all of Mary's True Crime and Academia episodes ad-free. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the episode.
Hey, true crime friends, welcome back to another episode of True Crime in Academia. As always, I am your host, Mary DePippi. I hope you all have enjoyed your weekend and are having a relaxing Sunday. I am in the process of trying to reset for the week. I still have a few rooms I gotta clean, and just straightening up I have to do, and then all my prep work for tomorrow. I actually have to go in tomorrow. I try to work my work from home days to be on Fridays and Mondays if possible. I just like extending my weekend that way. I don't know, doing Thursday to Friday, and then I don't know, something about a work from home on Monday is just, it's really nice. So I'm a little sad that I have to go in, but my birthday is this Friday, so I'm taking off for my birthday and the Thursday the day before. So because of that, I forego my work from home days. So I will be in Monday through Wednesday, which historically it goes by quick, but I'm just not looking forward to waking up tomorrow morning that early, but it's not that bad. It'll be fine. I just need to get over it. So far, for my days off, I don't have anything planned, and I don't know that I want to. I've kind of just become a fan of doing nothing anymore. I don't know. I just feel, it's starting to break a little bit with the weather and the temperature change and all, but I don't know. I still just feel very sleepy and tired from winter and don't want to do anything, and but like I said, it is starting to break a little bit, and I think it'll just keep getting better. But, as of right now, I don't think I'm going to be doing much. Just, kind of just going with the flow. If I want to do something, I'll do it. If not, I'm not going to. But, yeah, just going to take it easy, I think, and go with the flow. Oh, I do hope that I finish this book that I'm reading. It's Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I think they're trying to make it into a Netflix show. I don't know if they have or what the whole thing is. I thought I saw that somewhere. But anyway, it is excellent so far. And I'm trying to prolong it as long as possible. So I've been reading like huge chunks and then taking a break and then reading huge chunks and then taking a break. So I'm hoping to come out of that break for that weekend so I can finish it and then maybe start my next book, which I can't decide if it's going to be another Noelle Healy book called Run on Red, or if I want to read Bad Man by Dathan Arabach, I think is how you pronounce his name. I'm not sure. But yeah, those are the two new books that I have right now that are next in line. So hopefully I can get through one of those. Yeah, I got these books around Christmas and I've just been wanting to not, because when I really get into my read mode, I just speed, like I go through. I am just, there is no stopping me. And not that is a bad thing, but I feel like I don't savor the stories as much as I should. Like I feel like I just get through because my curiosity and my impatience just has to know. And I'm not really processing, the work itself always. So I'm trying to be a little slower, but then like my last break before I read this most recent chunk was like a month's long break. So I need to get better at the time in between that I spend reading sessions, that is. But my goal is, because I have about the same amount left, like a good 100 pages left, I kind of want to just finish that over my birthday weekend and, kind of be good and process that and then move on to the next one. But we shall see. There is also a new season of Crime Scene Kitchen, so I also might spend my time binge watching the rest of that season. I've just gotten to like the merger episodes for both sides, so like they're at their final ones before the merger happens, for those that watch the show. So I'm not, I might just watch that, but we'll see. We will see. Anyway, that is enough of my jibber jabber. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will get into this week's episode, which is Season 2, Episode 5 of Death in the Dorms.
Have you ever wondered, wait, how does Andrew know about all of the new LGBTQ literature, TV, and film in society? Well, I have a secret tool, and it's called the Gay and Lesbian Review. It is my favorite magazine. It is bi-monthly, which means it comes out every 2 months. So right now, the March and April issue just came out. It's an encore issue. It's called When Did the LGBT Movement Begin? There's such exciting articles about what made Stonewall different, a sacred order for sexual outsiders, the house that Hirschfeld built, and so much more in that issue. I actually just had on authors William Benjamin, Margaret Vandenberg, and Lawrence Senelik, who had written to me, and I discuss his responses as a special Gay and Lesbian Review and ITBR podcast episode. So you can look for that in our podcast catalog. It is all about the January and February issue called Strange Fruit. So I can't wait for you all to listen to that. I absolutely love all of the queer history, culture, politics that the Gay and Lesbian Review covers. I love getting my print magazine. It just is so nostalgic having a magazine arrive at my door. But they also have an extensive online edition, so you can get the magazine online. I know so many in my life who've told me that they are now reading the Gay and Lesbian Review for LGBTQ literature recommendations. I love that. So you can use an exclusive code. Stephen from the Gay and Lesbian Review and Richard gave me an exclusive code to share with you all. It is called ITBR Choice. So ITBR Choice. Go to subscribe on the glreview.org, put in that code ITBR Choice, and you will get a free issue with your subscription. So all you'll have to do is where it says what magazine do you want for free, just put March and April or January and February. And I can't wait for you all to get your hands on the Gay and Lesbian Review. Make sure you follow them on Instagram. And please let me know if you're reading the Gay and Lesbian Review because I'd love to shout you out on the podcast.
Patrick Moffly was born on November 27, 1992, to Elizabeth and David Moffly in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. He was one of 4 siblings, and it seems like, to me, from what I could tell, it looked like Sarah was the youngest, and maybe Andrew and Bridget were older, but those were his other 3 siblings. Patrick was described as an outgoing, protective, adventurous, very well liked and made friends easily kind of human being who loved water sports and skateboarding and snowboarding, surfing, climbing, hiking, just all the extreme sports, all of the things, just really a go-getter. However, he wasn't really like a school person. School wasn't his thing. And he partied a lot in high school and was actually like one of the popular kids. His siblings and friends described him, and parents too, as someone who just like lit up a room whenever they walked in and just was someone that everyone gravitated towards and just really enjoyed being around and was just super fun and, just like I said, a really likable guy. Now, because of his partying, he did get in trouble with the law from time to time for drinking underage and what I deduced to be smoking pot, like having pot on him. Because there was something a friend said. They didn't really say exactly that it was possession of marijuana that he was charged with. But one of his friends later in the episode mentions how, like, the shift from high school to college, like in high school, it was pretty much just alcohol and weed. So that's what I'm assuming. So that's just my guess, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Mainly, though, because of one of the stories that was shared about him. So one of the times that it seemed like he was arrested, Patrick fled the scene, tried to flee from the cops, and he decided he was going to climb up a tree, and he was a really good climber. So when the cops get there and they're looking up at the tree, he whispers down to them, "There's no one up here," which to me, that seems like something someone high would do. Just throwing that out there. Not that I'm judging or anything, because we all know I partake, so no judgment. I just thought that was funny, and just a story to point out the type of person he was. Now, obviously, his parents were not okay with the excessive partying and really wanted him to straighten himself out. So they sent him to this program called Outward Bound in Costa Rica. And instead of his sophomore year in high school, 10th grade, he basically went out there and, went from the Caribbean Sea all the way to the Pacific Sea, which I think are 2 opposite ends in like Costa Rica. I'm not sure. I did not look that up, but that was just my guess. But so anyway, like it was a lot of living out in the woods and hiking and scuba diving and traveling across borders and things like that. And he was actually one of the youngest, or is the youngest person to have done this. And when he came back, his parents actually could tell that he had become more disciplined and was just, overall just a better person. He finished high school without any issue and was totally fine, but was kind of struggling and wanting to figure out, or at least having the motivation to want to figure out what he wanted to do. And his parents kind of gave him an ultimatum, and they were like, either you go to school for a trade or you go to college. And he decided to go to college. So fall of 2015, he starts at the College of Charleston. Coincidentally, his two sisters were both attending the College of Charleston at the same time that he was. Now, this is a bit of geography that I do know, is that Charleston is a city. So because of this, the campus wasn't set up like a normal campus would be. I went to a school that no longer exists now called University of the Arts. That school was in a city. So it's really hard to kind of tell where the city starts and school stops and vice versa. So it was definitely a different experience compared to other college experiences and other college campuses. Patrick eventually decided, after taking classes, that, he wanted to go for business and started gearing his education and classes towards that. Now, of course, being the popular kid and just someone who was extremely likable that everyone wanted to be around, he made friends immediately and found 4 friends that he wanted to move in with and did within quite a short amount of time. At first, he was just thriving, but then he started to make some decisions that put him in over his head, and things just got out of hand really quickly. And this was because he became exposed to a bigger drug scene and more party drugs, and he started partying more, and then family started noticing, like his brothers and sisters and his parents started noticing that he was buying some expensive things and kind of wondering what he was getting himself into. Simultaneously, Patrick was starting to fall behind in school and just missing class altogether. On November 14th, 2015, 2 months into college for him, Patrick calls his parents from the local county jail and lets them know that he's been arrested for trafficking cocaine. He had gone to Columbia, South Carolina for a football game and had 8 ounces of cocaine on him that he needed to sell, which is about $20,000 worth of product. Police, of course, confiscated the drugs, and even though he was eventually released, he knew that the people he had gotten these drugs from were gonna come looking for their money, and really just felt like his life was completely over. January of 2016, Patrick starts to fall in this really bad depression and is continuing to miss class and drops out soon afterwards and pretty much barely leaves his house, let alone his room. His mom, Elizabeth, being the good parent that she is noticing this about her son and schedules him an appointment with a therapist. But, of course, it's weeks out, as per usual, unfortunately. On March 1st, 2016, Sarah, Patrick's younger sister, is approached by some of Patrick's roommates, and they're asking about him and telling her that he owes them some money for the utilities or the rent or something, and that they had tried to contact him, but he wasn't answering them. And Sarah kind of understood because she was someone that he would normally answer, and he was barely responding to her correspondence, like her text messages, her phone calls, things like that. So, of course, Sarah goes to her parents with all of this. And their dad, David, actually gives Patrick a check for the money that he's owed to his roommates and tells him, like, look, just drop it off, give it to them. And the day that he went, he was supposed to return home, but he never did. On March 4th, 2016, at 3:50 p.m., 911 gets a call, and it's from one of Patrick's roommates, stating that he was in his room playing some video games when he heard a commotion go on and what he thought was a gunshot. He goes downstairs after he thinks the coast is clear, and he finds his friend and roommate, Patrick, at the base of the stairs with a single gunshot wound to his chest. Police arrive and immediately start applying pressure and are trying to just comfort Patrick and keep him awake and conscious until the EMS arrives. One of the officers even asks Patrick, "Who shot you?" And Patrick tells them Jordan Picente and Dollar T robbed him. The police officers notice a ripped plastic bag nearby and that Patrick is completely surrounded by a pile of pills that are oblong and rectangle shaped and are stamped GG249. From the time that the 911 call was made and Patrick was picked up and taken to the hospital was approximately 15 minutes, which to me personally, that seemed like a very short amount of time. And I think when you think about it in context of like your whole day, 15 minutes doesn't seem like a lot, but for someone with a gunshot wound to the chest, that is a lot of time. Sadly, at around 7:15 p.m., Patrick passed away due to complications from his injuries. The autopsy report stated that the bullet traveled into his chest and then down through and out his liver. And it seemed like once they kind of realized that that's what had happened, there really wasn't much they could do. Police, of course, question Patrick's roommates, and they find out that Jordan Picente is actually a friend of Patrick's. So they look into Jordan and her location, and they find out that she was actually in New York at the time of the murder. So she may not have physically committed the murder, but it doesn't mean that she's not involved in some way, shape, or form. Or at the very least, has some information as to what's going on. So police call Jordan and they ask her a couple questions because they're trying to figure out who Dollar T is. But Jordan doesn't give them anything, and the whole questioning that is happening over the phone isn't really helpful, but they do let her know that they will be in touch with her and will follow up with her when she does return to Charleston. Police also speak to a woman who just so happened to be walking down the street when Patrick was shot. She tells police that she had heard some sort of commotion and then sees 3 men running from the home, Patrick's house or apartment, and that they run to a red Jetta that is parked across the street that already has the engine running. In the police report, it says that she told police that they looked like they were running like they had robbed a bank. So she decided that she needed to make a note of the license plate. And when she sees it, she realizes that it's one of those temporary license plate that you get from the dealership when you buy a new car. So she takes note of that and she lets the police know the information, and police put a bolo out for the red Jetta. While searching the area where Patrick was found in the staircase, they find a shell casing and they figure out that it came from a .45 caliber firearm. So they go to Patrick's room and they find more of these white pills. So it seemed like he had about 10,000 pills on him at the time, like in his room and what was found around him. That was the amount, or what was supposed to be accounted for. Police also find a lease agreement to another house that's been signed by one of Patrick's roommates. And that house just so happens to be under surveillance for a completely different narcotic investigation. 4 months before Patrick's murder, the narcotics unit had an investigation that was ongoing, and it included college-aged people in some sort of drug trade. Police had found a CI, and they asked them to buy Xanax and, basically give police the name of the seller. The name that they gave them was Zachary Kligman, who also seemed to be on a lease for that house and seemed that was specifically his stash house. Now, different from everyone else involved so far in Patrick's shooting and murder, Zachary was not a student at the College of Charleston. He was from Myrtle Beach and just lived in Charleston and was kind of just running this drug situation. Now, police here can kind of see a link from Patrick's murder to this investigation that's happening. It's also corroborated more so, when the parents come forward and tell police about Patrick's past and previous arrest, and how at the time that he had told them that the people that he was working with were violent or would be violent if necessary. To further corroborate this theory that Patrick's death was drug-related, on Saturday, March 5th, one of Patrick's friends, Summer McNary, reached out to police, and she stated that she was starting to become concerned about Patrick the day he was murdered because of a Snapchat that he had posted. It was of him snorting a line of cocaine off of his desk, and then it had panned to a bunch of bag with white pills and the words across the screen, or the text across the screen, saying, "Maybe I'm the plug," meaning maybe he's the connect for drugs, basically implying and kind of, as someone who works in marketing, this is very difficult because I understand he's marketing his product, but also that's not, you probably shouldn't be doing that. But anyway, she explains to police that she thinks he did this as a way to get out of debt from the cocaine that was confiscated from when he was arrested. On March 9th, Patrick was laid to rest in from what I could see in the video in the documentary, was literally a celebration of life.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place. For changes big and small. Loud or quiet. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
We off? 30 seconds of carefree bliss.
Oof, like wind in your hair carefree.
Oh, like using Clorox Disinfecting All-Purpose Cleaner in the home carefree.
Yes!
Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox Carefree.
He's on a roll now.
Spit toothpaste on the faucet.
You got it. You got it.
Peanut butter on the light switch.
Oh, spritz, spritz.
Spritz, spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good.
Okay, we're back.
Use as directed.
As an English professor, I would have no idea where to begin with books to assign to my students. So I absolutely love Broadview Press, who is celebrating their 40th anniversary. Broadview Press, they publish classic works of literature, academic, humanities books. I've read so many of their books, and I've always loved whatever conversations being discussed, from the philosophy of sport, indigenous philosophy and Native American culture, vampire literature, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, new edition that just came out just in time for Wicked fandom, folk and fairy tales. My students love the different Cinderella and Little Red Riding Hood fairy tales that we discussed. They always have a really exciting collection. So head on over right now to broadviewpress.com. Use the exclusive code that they gave us, Ivory Tower, for 20% off all of your orders. I hope you enjoy your reading, and please let me know and DM me with the books that you're getting from Broadview Press, because I'd love to share it with Dylan from Broadview Press, who always is curious to see what the Ivory Tower Boiler Room community is purchasing. So enjoy your reading, and I hope you discover even more exciting humanities works.
Police uncovered that Zachary Kligman had at some point supplied Patrick with pills. Now, it didn't say if this was like the specific stash that police had found or if this was, a different time altogether. Now, one of the roommates agrees with police to wear a wire. I'm assuming it's the one that signed the lease agreement. But anyway, basically, he goes to meet with Zach, and Zach tells the roommate that he had pounds of weed and pills confiscated, from Patrick's shooting, which is enough for police to go and get a search warrant, and which they do, and quickly go to his stash house. And of course, that's where they find more drugs. Police arrest Zachary, and when they're interrogating him, he tells the police about this actually complex drug ring that is extended to a whole worldwide distribution. Basically, something about getting product from China and then having it shipped over to the West Coast, then comes to the East Coast and down to South Carolina, basically, and they're able to make their own these fake Xanax pills, basically. And because of the dark web, they can distribute it worldwide, which is what they were doing. So again, this kind of high stakes, high organized drug ring is kind of giving the police more evidence that maybe this was motive for why Patrick was shot. Police finally get a hit on the bolo for the red Jetta, and they find it parked in West Ashley. And the cops on the scene notice that there is a male driver and a female passenger currently in the car. So when they approach the vehicle, they immediately smell weed, and they can see some of it in a bag in between the gear shift area. And, because of that, they tell aside from the fact that this is obviously the car that they're looking for, they have the weed kind of as also an excuse to get the occupants out of the car. They learn that the driver is named Charles Mungin III, and the passenger is Symmetria Wilson. Now, both of them are taken downtown for questioning, and they're taken in separate cars. And this was a good thing because obviously it didn't give them time to talk to each other and come up with a story because their stories did not match. Charles says that they were never downtown, whereas Symmetria says yes, they were downtown and that they were actually blocks within Patrick's shooting, and she remembers having picked up 2 people. Now, police weren't really able to get much information out of Symmetria, and at one point she does ask for a lawyer, which, as we all know, is a smart thing to do. It's not indicative of whether you're innocent or guilty. It's just to make sure you don't become implicated in something you don't need to be implicated in, and just to have someone that knows the law and, your rights to be on your side. But anyway, she also tells police that she can't really remember what had happened or who the people were that entered the car because she was high. But she did remember that one of the passengers that Charles picked up did have a double first name. Police examine Charles Mungin's phones, and they find Jordan Picente's number saved in Charles's phone under the name Bars. They also discover at least two text message exchanges from them about Xanax specifically. So police, of course, bring Jordan in again, and they find out that her and Patrick would frequent the bars on the Upper King Street and, would sell their fake Xanax there. Police also searched through Patrick's phone and found Charles saved in his phone as none other than $T. They also find text messages between them that day trying to set up some sort of deal. So now police try to find evidence of the Jetta leaving the crime scene pretty much around the time that Patrick was shot. And a nearby school and I think a pizza shop had surveillance cameras facing the road that the Jetta took. So they actually caught the Jetta going towards Patrick's house and then leaving Patrick's house around the time of his shooting. On March 17th, 2016, police had enough evidence to arrest Charles Mungin III for murder, and then later on they would add armed robbery as a charge. The search for the other two passengers continued. On June 8th, 2016, Zachary Kligman and 8 others were arrested for trafficking a bunch of different drugs. I mean, you name it, they had it. It seemed from the list. It just kept going. So obviously they seized all of the drugs, at least $200,000, and 7 guns and 4 different vehicles. And they noticed that the Xanax that they collect is the same exact Xanax, like the markings and everything, to the ones that they found in Patrick's apartment and the ones that were stolen from him. Now, they're going through the list of the guys that they have arrested, and they find someone with a double first name, a guy named John Glover. Police used their cell phone records and like the towers and stuff that they were nearby to actually confirm that they were in the same vicinity at the same time, him and Charles Mungin. And on February 15th, 2017, John was arrested. He pled guilty to accessory after the fact to murder and some additional drug charges. He was given 15 years in prison, but suspended to 7 years, followed by 5 years of probation. Charles Mungin III went to court in September of 2019. Now, while police and prosecution were prepping for the trial, police uncover the roommate had actually waited a little bit before calling 911. This was because they went into their own room after seeing that Patrick had been shot, got their drugs, and went and hid them in the neighbor's backyard because they knew that the neighbor had already left for spring break. So, because they didn't want to get their own drugs confiscated. So they had to get rid of their drugs, Meanwhile, their friend is dying on the floor in front of them, and they're doing that, because they don't want to get in trouble. God forbid, or, have not necessarily even be in trouble with the law, but be in trouble with the people that they got these drugs from. So, and who knows what would have happened if maybe he or they called 911 sooner. Who knows? This might not be a story on Death in the Dorms. Who knows? We don't know. But yeah, so police find out that happened. And, this kind of just gives them more basis to present that this was simply a drug robbery gone wrong. The prosecution really set up a good case, and Mungin was found guilty on both counts, the murder and to armed robbery. And for those, he was sentenced to life in prison. Now, police never identified that third passenger. They are still out and at large. Symmetria, Jordan, Patrick's other roommates, and Zachary were never charged or implicated in any way in his murder. Because of Patrick's love for extreme sports and diving and, having done the Outward Bound program, his parents set up a dive site in dedication to him in Roatan, Honduras. And the dive site itself is called Patrick's Stash, which I think is just a really sweet way for them to remember him. And that hopefully he can inspire other people all in all, like, with every case we go through, just another really, really sad, tragic murder, that seems so senseless for, someone so young, especially, But that is all I have for you, my darlings. Next week is the last episode in the Death of the Dorm series. It's very bittersweet. I always love doing these series. Like, I'm so glad that Hulu and ABC do this and highlight these victims, And while I'm excited to bring forth other exciting cases, it's always a little sad when we get to the end. Don't forget to follow True Crime in Academia on social media, on Threads, Instagram, and TikTok at True Crime in Academia. Also, if you would like to listen to this episode ad-free, go to patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room and become a subscriber today. As always, my darlings, I hope you have a wonderful week ahead of you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And the next time I talk to you guys, I will be another year older. Crazy. Anyway, until then, my loves, I will see you all later.
I'm sure you've heard me talk about my friend Christian Garcia's podcast, but if you haven't, you need to look up his podcast, That Old Gay Classic Cinema. It is on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And he looks at iconic classic films through a queer lens, which I just love. He's done Singing in the Rain, All About Eve, It's a Wonderful Life. Yes, that iconic holiday film. I'm curious to listen. I need to know what is so queer about It's a Wonderful Life. Dracula, The Sounds of Music, you name a classic film, he's probably done it. So go on over to his Instagram, That Old Gay Classic Cinema. Make sure you follow him and you'll stay up to date with all of his recent releases. I know you're going to love it.